I'm using Visual Studio Code here, and I have a folder set up following the conventions for a Java Maven project. Maven is a Java build framework, a bit like a combination of MS Build and NuGet, and in this pom.xml file, I specify the Hadoop Client API from Apache as a dependency, and also a common library for parsing CSV data. My classification mapper class extends from the base Hadoop mapper, and the type arguments tell Hadoop what the mapper expects as the key value pair for the input and what it writes out as the key value pairs for the intermediate output. The map method is where the work gets done, and even if you're not familiar with Java, it's pretty clear what's happening here in this simple example. The map method gets called for every line in the file block that this mapper is processing, and we start by parsing the CSV line into fields with the referenced CSV parser class, and we pull out the value of the 29th field, which is the area classification that we're interested in. This is what the data looks like. It's from that public dataset of UK regions, which you can get from the government website here. Each line represents a different postal region, and the value that I'm interested in is field 29, which has this brief socio-economic classification of the area. Remember, each mapper instance will run for one file block, and it will write out the value of the classification field from every line that it reads. When all the mappers have run, Hadoop spins up an instance of the classification reducer. The reducer class extends the base Hadoop reducer, and it also specifies the key and value types that it expects to deal with. The reduce method gets called for each key value pair in the intermediate output, and because of the merging that happens in the shuffle phase, the reduce gets called with a key and a collection of values. This reduce method sums all the input values and then writes the output. The key, which is the category, and the integer value, which is the sum of class, which doesn't need to inherit from anything. The main method is the entry point for the Java package, so this is where the job starts and where we do the configuration. We give the job a name, specify which mapper and reducer to use, and the file formats we expect for the input and output. By the archive to run, and then passes on any parameters to the program, which is how we pass the input source and output target from the command line into the MapReduce driver. When the program runs, Hadoop copies the jar file to all the worker nodes, so they also need any dependencies that the program has. The simplest way to manage that in Java is to bundle the dependency into the jar file that you build, which the Maven process does for me with the CSV dependency. It's a bit like IL merge in .NET, which merges multiple assemblies into one file. So that's how MapReduce